Well, this is Cabin Conversations, a regular podcast here at Woodlands Church. I'm Dave Bodison here with co-host Whitney Swenson.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Whitney. So we're like
real regular.
We're
this
cranking
2026.
it. 2026 is the year of Cabin Conversations. It is the
Being
year.
regular.
Our guest this week is none other than Laura Woods. So, hi, Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Hi.
I was just asking you and then told you not to answer. Is this your first time on the podcast?
It is my first time.
Oh my goodness! So that's super
I think
exciting.
we canceled on you one time.
We've canceled on her twice at least this season.
Only once,
Oh.
right before Christmas, like
That's
the
right.
week of
Okay.
Christmas.
So you were
Okay.
all ready for it and then canceled.
Just as ready as I was today.
Well, and I think Whitney and I forget because we're now in a quite a rhythm with it.
Yeah.
And again, the vision of modeling Christ-centered conversations, this is a pretty casual thing for us.
Yeah.
We don't prep. I do take notes. If we don't have cabin conversations, I don't take notes in church
Really?
because I don't review them.
Okay.
And so that process isn't necessarily helpful for me.
Sure.
But when I know I'm going to be processing the sermon here, I do take
You
notes.
take notes.
But we treat it pretty casually, and we forget that sometimes when people haven't been in this
Yeah.
environment weekly,
Yeah.
it's a little more maybe
Nerve-wracking.
there's a process.
Nerve-wracking.
There's some
So-
nerves going on. I remember like initially starting this and being very nervous.
Back
And
in season one.
Back in season 1 when Matt Wilhelm was part of it too. And then Matt would just start talking and be like, oh yeah, I don't have to talk because Matt could just keep going.
Matt just went. We got
Keep going.
lots of Matt thoughts. That was a fun. Yeah, that was because originally it was going to be the three of us permanently.
Yeah.
And then when Matt ended up stepping out, we started
Yeah.
rotating in a guest, which I really liked.
I think that's been a better model.
That's been a great model.
Yeah.
So
Not that we didn't want Matt, but
No.
because it's been a better model to have different people on.
So what I'm hearing is no one can really fill Matt's shoes.
that's one way to say that.
Yeah.
So
Or
a variety of voices. A
I do
variety
think
of
it's
voices is
been
great.
a really, I mean, you were even talking about this beforehand, but it's been a really great way to include staff.
Mm-hmm.
And there is, you were saying that you've listened to this in the past and you feel like there's a relational
Right.
tie to us because you know us, we share stories. And then I think that's just a good way to introduce staff too.
Yeah.
I grew up with a mom who was a beautician.
Oh.
And so, like by the time I was old enough to remember people, like middle, grade school, she had her customer base that came back on a regular basis. So her kind of thing was she would do somebody's hair and then book them 6 or 8 weeks out, right? So they were very invested in our family, and she told stories all the time about us. And so there's all these customers out there from my mom that knew me, knew my story, knew what was going on, would walk up to me at any given moment and ask, like, how's that thing going? You
Yeah.
know? And I'd be like,
They know what's
who
up.
are you?
So
But
it's the
it was
one-sided
endearing.
relationships.
Yeah.
Kind of.
It was endearing to know that
happened.
my mom, she's got relationships too, and was living stories with people. So
The tension with Woodlands is the size and how to find real relationships in the midst of the size, and to never compartmentalize or just make church the thing that you do, but you're part of it. And the only way to be part of it is to know the people. And so this is a great way for people to get to know us. And Laura, it's been fun getting to know you over the last few years as you've been involved in the ministry lead team and leading the care ministry. You have a heart just for people, which is so cool. I could not sit in your seat. I could not do your role at all because I don't like people. No, I'm just kidding. I love people. But just that care, concern.
you are uniquely gifted for the role that you have here.
It really is an honor to sit in people's stories and hear what they have to say and be trusted with deep, hard stuff.
Yeah. I just read over this weekend. I read "Leadership and Self-Deception" by the Arbinger Institute. Did you ever read it?
No, but
ever read it?
The title's got me.
It reads.
intrigued.
It reads like a novel.
Ooh, that's good.
And so it's a story. Yeah, it's a story. They introduce these leadership concepts through a supervisor talking to 2 other supervisors and sharing his story. And so it reads like candy. But a big part of it is not objectifying people, but realizing that in every interaction you're dealing with a human being, with human being stories and caring about that, not just caring about what the person can do or how the person's a roadblock or a hindrance or a trouble or anything like that. And
Amen.
there's such a truth to that
Yeah.
in our journeys of leaders. And so you have to do that.
Right.
And so for someone like me who loves my prep process, and I'm prepping something, and then someone knocks on my office door and interrupts with something going on. It's easy to objectify them as an interruption.
Yeah.
Rather than this is a person that I have the privilege of meeting with and spending time with. So
Right. And there's a big difference when you come on Sunday and you see all those faces, just to kind of deal with all those faces, how you interact with people as a group and the coping skills you have with a group. It can be overwhelming, and sometimes you don't want to deal with it. So for me, it's easier to, rather than the big group, to focus on one individual in front of me. I can do one person. But to try and do the whole group, that's overwhelming.
yeah, that's a good word. So
Yeah.
you have a question for
I do
Laura?
have a question. It's from our sermon resources.
Oh,
Who's
no.
the best storyteller you know, Laura?
Ooh,
What makes he or she a really good storyteller?
I think actually, I mean, we have many storytellers here that are fabulous, but I think one of the best storytellers is my middle child, Caleb,
Okay.
because he doesn't just tell a story, he animates a story.
Sure.
I mean, there's body language and expression, and I mean, he's all over the place. So he just his whole being gets you amped up and in the story. You just want to be part of whatever it is.
is he high energy or is he just like super passionate?
Oh,
or?
he's high energy, high animation. I mean, he's engaged.
Cool. That's fun.
He's got the timing. I can't tell a joke. My
know.
timing. I'm like,
Rush the punchline because you're so excited for it.
I forget the whole story, but here's the punchline.
Yeah. There's one of Brian's friends from high school is probably the best storyteller I know. He's a police officer, so he's got a ton of he's got a lot of stuff coming in that he can tell stories about. But I think he's a really good observer, and it must be you probably have to be a good police officer to be able to pick details out and know what's like follow the story and what's happening. And so he's able to translate that really well into like you're just enraptured in his story too. And he's not as animated, but he's just really good at details and doesn't rush the punchline. He like drags it out in an appropriate amount of time that just hooks you.
Well, and that the animated one goes because I was thinking of our own Justin Armstrong.
Justin's
and
fantastic.
I love how he formulates and communicates stories, but he's the least animated person,
Right.
especially on stage, that you could ever imagine. The man can stand still for 35 minutes.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Which is that we said this before, that gives me anxiety because I can't do that and can't envision. He's just a very unique guy. But yeah, the way he draws you in is so exciting. It's so good. Chris Brown, who's a pastor out in California, is Justin's modeled some of his passion to tell those stories off of Chris. And Chris Brown is an insane storyteller. He's a pastor out there.
What do you think makes him a good storyteller?
It's just immersive.
Yeah.
Like it's someone who, I mean, you were mentioning the details and knowing what details are important. But I think you can tell a story that's colorless or very beige, but you can also tell a story with far too many details.
Yeah, that's me.
And so
I'm
knowing
like, these details don't matter. You don't care about these details.
and so knowing what's going to draw you in rather than like get you to check out.
Right.
That's probably a lot of good storytelling.
Yeah.
So, and Justin isn't super inflected either. I'm guessing Caleb is probably pretty inflected.
Oh, yeah.
So that must be a component, but not a necessity.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
So yeah, that's an interesting question to kind of wrestle with. I mean, in a group life, certainly that's part of the leader resource, but how do you tell a story? And it's interesting because a lot of stories in scripture, I think, are detail light. That's the style of communication and that sort of stuff. So Acts, which is the longest story, sequential story in scripture, I think, has some details, but some not details.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Was that based off of Paul's storytelling this week? Is that kind of what led to that?
When we do opener questions, we try to sometimes tie it into what's happening within the text. And Paul told a story. Again, we read it already, but now we get to hear how he delivers it to a different audience, which is interesting, or a new audience, I guess.
Well, it's interesting. Paul's conversion story is present 3 times in the book of Acts. It's in Acts 9, in the actual happening of it, and then he relates it here in Acts 21, and then it happens again when he's in Felix's court.
Yep.
or in front of Festus.
One of the F's.
Yeah, it's Felix or Festus,
Felix
and
or
Festus
Festus.
shows up in Felix's. So
Yeah.
and there's different details every time, which is how storytelling goes. And just that's a reminder that that the four Gospels attack stories from different angles, which is to say that they're not telling the
same story.
Yeah, but they're not lying about anything. They're just highlighting different details because they're teaching different things through those. And Paul highlights in this one specific things in order to teach. So, so this Sunday, a captive's audience.
He highlights certain things too, like the way the language comes across is he knows the audience in front of him. I think maybe there's something about being a good storyteller is knowing the audience in front of you. I mean, he calls brothers and fathers. He talks about being zealous for God as you are today. There's just so many things he ties into this Jewish audience that's in front of him. God of our ancestors. He relates that the vision happened in the temple. There's things that he's just like drawing his audience that he knows are going to land well with the audience in front of him until he hits the last note. And he spikes the ball.
He very Pauly in there. So, yeah. Laura, was there anything that stood out to you on Sunday as you were hearing Jon talk about this story and walk through it, but in particular sharing stories or sharing our story to a potentially antagonistic audience or antagonistic world?
Yeah.
So
they were already very antagonistic.
Certainly here, yeah.
So I really appreciate it, and the idea of just leading with grace and starting off. I take kind of everything and apply it into my world, into care world.
Yeah.
And I think about the idea that when you're talking to someone with pain or conflict, to be able to find the points of agreement where, we're in this together. Maybe, two people agreeing, we're in this together. We both want to have a healthy marriage. We came to each other. We got married because we love each other. So to start with grace and to find the common ground and see how you can build from that, I thought was just really beautiful and obviously very biblical.
And as Jon has highlighted in different times in this, like Paul could have seen that crowd as his enemies, but he saw them as his mission field. And that's such a different perspective, I think, when we're in conflict with someone. It's such a humble perspective that says my purpose here is far much more than to be liked or to get along with people or to objectify and have people do things for me. My purpose is to do ministry and to love others. So
I think the beauty too of this part for Paul, so Jon's first 3 points were respond with grace, build a bridge, and resist judgment. I think sometimes it's really easy to forget where we were. Like I think one of Jon's comments at the very end was like, where would we be without Jesus? And just to even to dwell in that a little bit, Paul's able to respond with grace here because he's that I was that, and I haven't forgotten. Like that, the death of Stephen is still in my mind. I know I still stood there, and I know I'm forgiven for that. But I stood with rage at some point in the same position you're standing in. So I think even reading through this passage several times for curriculum reminded me of all the times that Paul says, "You were once this," Ephesians 2, but then God, and then now this is what we are. And so just that model of remember what you were and how God has stepped into your own story is sometimes I think leading with grace and resisting judgment and building a bridge, it's like you need to remember.
Yeah.
You need to remember what grace has done in your life.
You need to remember it without letting that shame, without producing shame.
Right.
Even, I'm freed from that in Christ, but it's also part of my story. And
there's so much more compassion there. I think you can have compassion with somebody that you're like, I once was that.
Yeah.
I know that life.
Right. We tend to create an us and them narrative in our head. And this isn't new to me. My favorite Christian psychologist, Diane Langberg, said, there is no them, there is only us. And that's good to remember.
Okay, so last week was last week the rumor weed, or was that the week before?
It must have been the rumor weed because Berkey rumor weed is still growing.
Yes.
For Jon.
Yes. Yes. Was that just a week ago? Anyway,
gosh.
dear listeners, thank you for approaching
for
Jon
engaging.
and asking him this. Just yesterday in our production meeting, he was like, okay, hold on. At some point, did I say that I was going to ski the Berkey? Because I'm getting so many people asking me about that. He's like, a bunch of people on Sunday when they were walking in church. So thank you, dear listeners. That was fun.
It was last week. So last
Okay.
week we talked about asking Jon if he was going to ski the Berkey and just seeing what kind of rumor weed we could start from this podcast.
Okay.
It's alive and it's going.
It's been going around the church that he's
Yeah.
going to follow in Brian's
Yeah.
former footsteps
Yeah.
and be our senior pastor ski guru. But no, dear listeners, he shall not.
You were taking us to rumor weed for some reason.
Yeah, but we said, what diagnostic questions or what triggers can we pay attention to in our own hearts to see if we are starting to engage in mistruth or deception or rumors or gossip or any of those sorts of things. So I think in the same way, I mean, the us and them dichotomy right there is really helpful. But so much of this starts from a perspective of, I want this person to follow Jesus, not I want this person to be okay with me or, anything like that. So what diagnostic questions can we start asking ourselves to get ahead of that? Like what relationships in your life are you objectifying or any of those things? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's a vulnerable question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you want to start, Dave?
I don't know.
Don't have an answer.
So no. I mean, it could be something as simple as the process in a journal or something of regularly saying, who's bothering me? And then writing that out and then being able to look back and say, oh, it's this person consistently. There's probably something I got to do in my heart there. Or they're just a really annoying person. I'm just joking.
Dave. Oh, Dave. I think even as we talked about last week, and like, how do you avoid entering into gossip and slander and whatnot? In this too, what you're talking about with journaling, identifying what's happening in your own brain sometimes just takes a level of self-awareness and slowing down. And maybe I always struggle with, is that just the lens that I'm looking through constantly? Because that's what I desire to grow in my life, is just a little more self-awareness and the ability to slow down.
Yeah, like, is that inherent or is that personal?
Right.
That's the distinction
What is
you're
it?
asking. Yeah.
I'm asking you too. What is it? Is that needed here? Inherent or is it personal?
So clarify that.
In this situation where Dave's talking about diagnostic questions that we can ask when we're starting to objectify people, and my response is raise your self-awareness and slow down enough to be able to think through what you're actually thinking through.
Right.
Is that valid here? Or is that me constantly looking through the same lens?
No, I think it's valid because when we reach out, I mean, and we're people, so we want to be liked, right? Approval is a big thing. And so how we present the gospel, when we present the gospel, when we don't present the gospel, that can all be part of how is this other person going to view me. And so I think one of the reflective questions then is kind of what's coming up for me. What need am I trying to meet?
Sure.
Am I focused on meeting my own need, which is maybe being liked or seen as competent or gaining someone's approval? Or is our focus just seeing that somebody needs the gospel, needs help, needs support, and that's what you're doing?
Yeah. Going from self-reference to other people reference.
Yeah. And I think it's a constant recalibration.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody ever gets to the point of, well, I don't think about me anymore. I only think about other people. That's not realistic.
It strikes me, I think self-assessment, slowing down, is always going to be a component of stuff, especially in this pace and culture that we live in. But it seems to me like this is going to be one of those things that's best diagnosed in community. That's best diagnosed in a community that is both transparent and looks through this lens. And so those two things, if you know you're always looking through this lens, that's going to cause you to be less transparent. And if you're always just really transparent but not looking through this lens, you're just going to turn into kind of a biting community.
Sure.
But a community where I can be pouring out my heart and being like, oh, this person is just driving me nuts because that's what's going on in my life. And Laura, you can be like, okay, Dave, do you see what's happening here? Like you got to flip the script a little. This person is an image bearer of Jesus, deeply loved. And how are you viewing them as part of your mission and part of the goal of furthering the gospel rather than a hindrance to what you want to do and be?
I think I agree with what you're saying totally, but I think what's coming up in my mind is if your group is homogenous only, though. So if you all subscribe to the same channel of thought, the us and them dichotomy, like that bar raises pretty heavily, right? I think. Yeah. I think unless you have some different perspectives represented around your community, the blind spots skyrocket when it's a homogenous group of thinkers and humans. When you get a little bit more variety of personal story, of background, of thought, I think it's harder probably to be transparent initially and have those like self-awareness conversations. But I think long run, that could be a really healthy community to be able to diagnose when you're leaning into us and them, because you might have some them in the group, in the room, right?
Yep.
So if I could create there's actually, I think there's two very different situations that we're talking about. Sure. One is genuine interpersonal tensions with people, like real life things. Yeah. And the other is when the them, and this is what you were talking about, I think more, when the them represents a people group or a demographic that maybe you are interacting with in theory, but not in reality. So, I mean, there's lots of us and them right now in culture.
Sure.
So like let's take the relatively strange political reality right now of whatever we're doing in Greenland.
Yeah.
We can talk a lot about the Greenland people, that's the them, and about what they want, but we're not actually talking to them.
Right.
We're just interacting with what we've maybe read about them on the news.
Right.
And so what you're saying is it would be really helpful to have a really good dialogue to actually get some folks from Greenland into our circle and talk to them.
Yep.
So that happens at every microcosm. And you're saying it's probably helpful to have, if we're talking about these different wide swatches of community, have them in the circle.
And I'm even thinking about a life group where you have different political perspectives represented. You have different, that's probably the easiest.
When the them is the liberals or the them is the conservatives.
And all of a sudden you're in the same living room and you're worshiping the same God and you're trying to figure out what it looks like to walk in wisdom in your own life, but also within community.
And you might say, like, how in the world could you guys believe that?
Right.
And they're able to be like, what? We don't?
Right.
We come with a different perspective at it, but like our heart still breaks or our heart's still conflicted or to actually get that.
Then I think then the them becomes personal, becomes a human, turns from this group of faceless people to a face and an image bearer that you can relate to. It's not that easy. Right. We just made it sound really easy.
And then there's world peace.
Yeah. And that's the point when you begin to find out, okay, what is our common ground? You hold this view and I hold this view, but maybe our heart both breaks for this group of people or this issue. We're just maybe looking at different solutions, but we still have the same tender heart to care for this situation.
Or we're looking at this issue and my heart breaks for this part and your heart breaks for this part. And I actually never considered this part because I was so focused on this part. Yeah. And you can introduce me to other things about this issue that I can consider and hold to.
Well, that's a really helpful word, Laura, because I think whenever you start to create these separations or these dichotomies, conservative, liberal is one of the easiest ones. It's based around where you don't agree.
Right.
Rather than that common ground piece. And so if someone identifies really strongly as a conservative, they're never going to say, what common pieces do I have with the liberals? Because definitionally they're separated. But if you say, I identify really and you identify what common ground can we have. If you're actually in conversation with the other, that becomes a very, very different piece. So that's a really good word. These are tricky things. And this, Jon did a really tactful job, I think, of talking about some very, very, very clear realities in our current world, about having conversations and conflict and things without actually drawing towards any specificity and anything. He's like, not many of you are probably familiar with mobs. And I'm like, there's a couple mobs on the news.
Like, we're living in a moment right now. And we've been living in a moment for quite a while where mobs have been a thing.
Mobs exist. Yeah, not just at, Texas A&M's football stadium.
No, that was a very positive way to spin that one.
I thought so also.
But I think as the congregation in those moments, we have to be smart enough, and Jon has to allow us to be smart enough to then draw those connections into those real things. So it doesn't transparently, there are some people who would like the platformed speaker to speak very, very boldly into those cultural moments. I don't think it often helps the church. I think it helps the church to give framework and then to trust that we're smart enough to make those applications and draw that way in conversation. Does that make sense? Or do you think I'm wrong on that?
It does make sense. I think you're mostly right. I think there are moments when to help draw closer from the scaffolding that you've given to the cultural moment is maybe needed.
There are cultural moments that we need to speak into.
I think there are, but I don't think all of them are. And I think they're at the pace of news, the pace of what is happening in the world for the last, 5 years at least, it feels like every weekend there could be a cultural moment we're speaking into. And I don't think that's accurate. I think what I have appreciated is that we have stayed biblically focused. And these principles that he pulled are not out of the air. You watch Paul show grace to the people in front of him. You watch him build a bridge to the people in front of him. You watch him withhold judgment and then tell about who Jesus is. That is a great framework. But none of us are standing in front of a mob, right? But so it's still a great framework for interpersonal things. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know what diagnostic we have for saying this cultural moment should be brought into a Sunday.
Well, I think that's where our elders get to speak
Amen
into
to the elders.
Too.
Let's be praying for them over the weekend.
So, I always just love that's an elder decision. We'll trust that God leads through that. But just as a reminder, do pray for the elders. Have I talked about my view of temporal prayer? This is something crazy.
No,
so
please share.
God exists outside of time, right? He is not time bound, which isn't to say that it isn't just to say that he's eternal, but he's infinite, and past, present, future don't exist in the same way. He interacts temporally in time with his people because we are eternally temporal. But for him, I don't think it's just poetic language when it says a day is like 1,000 years and 1,000 years is like a day. I think it is. Time doesn't exist for God. And so there are times where, you're listening to a podcast and you're listening to it on Sunday afternoon or your Saturday afternoon, and we reference the elders retreat that happens Thursday through Saturday. And you're like, oh shoot, I wish I'd prayed for that. Well, pray for it. God is not hindered by that.
Sure.
Yeah, it's already happened, but pray for it.
Yeah.
So don't allow our limitations to be extended to God. But if it's before Thursday, also pray for it. So
Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah.
So, but the elder retreat is it's significant for the direction of this church in that timing. So, which is good. So, which of the 4 steps that Jon talked about, responds with grace, builds a bridge, resists judgment, and talks about what Jesus has done, which of those do you think is hardest? Responds with grace, builds a bridge, resists judgment, talks about what Jesus has done.
So the prodigal son story, I probably most resonate with the older brother in doing things well, and by the book, and then judging others that don't. I think judgment is probably the thing for me.
Do you know, in my ordination paper, I referenced the older brother as a picture of someone in hell?
No, shoot.
That there's a party of grace that the older brother doesn't want to enter into.
Sure.
Because his heart is hardened against the expression of grace. So I don't know if it is in Scripture, but
I don't think we get that far.
no, I think it's extrapolated.
I think you're yeah. But I do. But have you ever read The Prodigal Sister by John Piper?
No.
Okay, so this was a book given to me around Christmas time. John Piper is not a poet in my mind. Like, he's not the guy that I'm going to for poetry. But The Prodigal Sister is a short story you can read in like an hour. You'll cry through most of it, so it might take longer. It might be more like a half an hour read, but it's a depending on how much, how easy it is for you to read poetry. But it's this beautiful meditation about. So there's the younger brother and the older brother, and there's the father. And what if there was a sister that sat with the father, knew the love of the father, and was sent to retrieve what caused the younger brother to return? We don't really have clarity in Scripture. Could it have been the sister that sat under the love of the father and knew his heart and drew that son back, and then also maybe could have wrapped around to the older brother and said, "This is actually not your identity either. It's here with the father."
Wow,
it's beautiful. I wept through the whole thing.
And it's poetry.
It's poetry by John Piper.
The same John Piper in Minnesota?
The same John Piper. And it's available online for free. So you can go look on, I think it's Desiring God. That's his website. He doesn't have a personal one. It's just Desiring God.
Yep.
I think you can find it for free on Desiring God. It's beautiful.
Fascinating.
To go find that. See, I think of the older brother and doing that just as someone who is performing for his identity.
For sure.
And so when I think of these things, and the idea that for someone who is still performing and earning, these things are hard. To show grace, to not judge. Because when I am working my tail off to do X, Y, and Z to make sure that I am acceptable, loved, seen, valued, right? That's my value. Then it's hard to just let that go and apply grace when I can't apply that to my own life.
Sure.
Where if I am able to apply grace to my own life and apply those principles to me, and that I'm seen and loved and I don't have to perform, then I'm released to apply that grace to others and to let go of that judgment, because if I can't let go of it if I'm propping myself up on it.
Right.
So, and just kind of a plug, somewhere where I really leaned deep into that and grow as I went through the women's DLG, the Turbo group, and just going through that. I think it was the
Gospel Fluency.
That just kind of opened that up like a flower for me and really talked about how do I apply the gospel to my own life. That was just a really beautiful thing.
Who's Gospel Fluency by?
Jeff Vanderstelt.
So just listeners, just so you know, any books that we reference are in the show notes for this. However, if it's on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app or whatever, the books, if there's a book and you're like, I'm interested in that, it's referenced in the show notes. So,
did you guys answer the question?
Yeah. So of the four, what do you think is personally most difficult? Responds with grace, builds a bridge, resists judgment, talks about what Jesus has done. My guess is for most people, the fourth one is the easiest, talking about what Jesus has done. That's my guess. Unless you were about to say that it's the hardest.
So, actually, for me, I think it is.
Oh, that's what timing.
So, just for a host of reasons, I have really worked to not lead with Jesus. Instead, the idea of trying to let my life speak about Jesus before I ever speak out loud about him, just because I've seen so many ways where people have pushed Jesus without the grace, and they've shown judgment. And so many people just skip to that last one without the other steps. So I think I emphasize those so much that You know,
Sometimes you don't get to step 4 quickly enough for.
Right. Just the idea of people are resistant until they experience all the other stuff. So I'm slow to do that, unfortunately.
I guess there is a component too, and I was just speaking out of my dum-dumness, that I'm guessing if you're working in a secular job, like it's easier maybe to respond with grace and build a bridge and resist judgment in your interactions with people, but there's a real risk in talking about Jesus.
There is.
Like culturally, those first 3 things, because a lot of our morality has been formed by Christian value and ethics, those first 3 things are often looked on favorably, whereas the 4th might be.
Yeah.
So it took me a while working in a church before I realized that someone gave me a phrase once that said, anyone walking into a church is implicitly giving you permission to talk about Jesus. Like people don't walk into the church and they're like, what? You're telling me about Jesus? That's crazy. I didn't expect that. So since I spend so much of my time in this environment, I've adopted that mindset, which is why I would have said step 4 is easier. But it's also fun to tell our story too. I think that that's part of it. If it's not like, let me tell you about Jesus, but it's let me tell you what Jesus did for me.
Yeah.
That's a distinction. So I thought the bridge one was the hardest for me, builds a bridge. So, which is just to say it is moving away from some of that objectification of people into like, this is a real person and their hurt resonates in my world. And yeah, I think a lot of times, and I've talked about this in the past, maybe that there's so much hurt in this world that I guard myself against often. Because I'm guarded against it, I am I have a hard time empathizing sometimes because it's like, I don't want to get hurt. And so there's a distance. So, so definitely growth edges. The more I've thought, so Faithful Habits, which is just such a good class. And if you listen to this before Sunday, come at 8:45, Lori Hansen teaching it. It's going to be so good. It's in room 308. You can show up without signing up, but signing up is great.
Favorable.
But working through the prayer section in that and just being reminded that prayer gives us permission to care about things that we can't affect because we can take them to God.
Yeah.
So like the brokenness that I can't, like maybe it's international or I can't engage in that. Like there's nothing I can do. I can pray. And so I can be tenderhearted towards these people rather than guarded and withdrawn. So, yeah. Anyway.
And when you pray for someone or something, it changes your heart towards them. It helps build that grace and build that bridge, that connection.
Yeah, C.S. Lewis said prayer doesn't change God, prayer changes you.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I think we've all experienced that in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, for sure.
So, well, hey,
For sure.
I've got a question out of my orange jar here. So, Laura, we always ask our guests, or it's really anyone,
I remember.
but a serious question.
All right.
And this week it is, what's a show you've recently binge watched? Are you still watching West Wing?
No.
Hey!
West Wing, yeah.
How far are you guys in it?
We're binging, so maybe season 4? So we're to the point where
Some spoilers for non-listeners.
Where they're considering the president running for re-election, and Toby just found out he has a medical condition, which I won't name.
That's season 2.
Okay, that's season 2. Okay.
Yep.
How do you know this?
Because
I've watched it a
recommend
few
times.
so
Yeah. So it's
you're almost at the end of season 2.
Yeah.
The episode at the end of season 2, Between Two Cathedrals, is largely considered one of the best TV episodes of all time. It's so good.
The name of it is
Between Two Cathedrals.
Okay,
Yep.
the fact that you know the name, that's impressive.
It's just real. I've watched it so many times. Every so often, I'm like, what am I going to do tonight? Between Two Cathedrals. Here we go. So it's just
Okay.
yummy.
So if there's one episode we watch over and over in our family, we're a Stargate family.
Interesting.
So
SG-1 or Atlantis or
SG, well, both, but
Okay.
SG-1,
What is
yes.
Stargate?
It's sci-fi. Like
Okay. So like Star Wars, but not
like Star
'cause it's
Trek.
Gate.
Yeah.
Trek.
Stargate. And so it's the 200th episode where they get caught in a time loop.
Yep.
And so our family
You got
says,
O'Neill hitting the golf ball into the
in
Stargate.
the middle of my backswing.
That's very funny.
Yeah.
Richard Dean Anderson plays Major Jack O'Neill in it. And
MacGyver.
Richard Dean Anderson is MacGyver.
I know MacGyver.
Yeah. And so that
Okay.
personality, it's so
Okay.
rich and fun.
Okay.
But it is
And
like,
ridiculous.
you have to, if you can't tolerate Star Trek, campy aliens, like you slap some, gills on the side of someone's face and call them an interdimensional being.
Right.
If you can't handle that, you certainly can't handle Stargate.
Okay.
So, but otherwise it's fun.
Yeah, you have to suspend reality.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Do you have anything that you?
I wish.
You're not-
There's a few nights where I'm like, what should I do tonight?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we don't watch a ton of TV.
I
We watch volleyball when it's on.
I binge books.
Yeah.
I
so
binge book series.
I binge audiobooks is probably what I would say I binge when I get into one. I will just like in every moment that I have in the car or going for a walk or whatever, I'll listen to a book.
Trying to remember the most recent TV show I watched, and there's times that like a show will click. We're watching Alone right now. We've mentioned that on this program a couple times, but we don't really binge it as much. So, but yeah, I don't know. When I started reading fantasy books again, I was reminded that I think they're more fun than TV.
Yeah.
They're more immersive. They're more whatever. So.
What are you reading now?
In those series. I'm rereading the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson.
I just looked at that on Sophie's shelf. There's two that are sitting there that are hefty beginnings to. I think they're both Sanderson. Way of Kings is the other one that.
That's Stormlight Archives.
Okay.
That's a big series. Almost everything that Brandon Sanderson writes is in the same Cosmere, so it's in the same world, different planets, and they're starting to interact together a lot more.
Okay.
Way of Kings is the first book of a 5-book arc that'll be part of a 10-book series. He just finished the 5th series. So, and they're all chunks.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that one's huge.
Mistborn was the most satisfying trilogy I've ever read.
Ooh.
So the way it ends, and Sanderson has this way of ending things where everything gets tied up. The way it ends, that paired with James Islington's Lycanus trilogy are two of the best trilogies, fantasy trilogies, like intro ones that I recommend for people.
Okay.
So,
good to know.
Yep. Anywho, this has ended on a very Dave's a nerd note. And with that, we'll let you go. So this has been Cabin Conversations. Thanks. We will be back next week. This is a lot of stuff to kind of process and put into practice. Not necessarily that our books are going to be like heavy. And then, oh, whoops, Dave mentioned a bunch of nerd ones. So anyway, see ya.
See ya.
Bye.